That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Trade Talk. This week we are continuing on with the Batman No Man's Land saga, and we're reviewing the first trade of Batman No Man's Land. So here we go. This is thick as hell, and I'm pretty sure the trades only get thicker or stay at this girth. You can just like rip headphones. That's a comic book. You know, that's what you want from a trade, is just meaty. And like, you know, I got this for $30. I feel like that was a pretty good deal. You get a lot of issues in here. So again, I'm not going to summarize every single story in here and every single issue collected within, but I'll go through some of the main bits and talk about what I liked. So, No Man's Land, I didn't know much about the history, the real-life history of what was going on with the Bat books at the time. So, Cataclysm and Road to No Man's Land were the send-off for a lot of the writers, Doug Moench, Chuck Dixon, Alan Grant. They'd done like a 10-year run on Batman, and thanks to Red Leader Antilles for informing me about this stuff in the comments, because I didn't know that. But they'd had like a 10-year run on Batman, so Cataclysm and Aftershock were their send-off for that run, and we started getting new creative teams in starting with No Man's Land, which is really interesting. It's a big shakeup in status quo. So here we got a lot of new names, mostly. I think the only name that really sticks as far as the writing goes is Denny O'Neil and Greg Ruka, but we got Bob Gale, Devin, Grayson, Ian Edginton, Edginton. Jason Pearson, Scott Beatty. Now he was on there before. Lisa Klink does an issue that I really liked. Kelly Puckett stayed. So yeah, we got a lot of not necessarily new writers, but new writers on the Batman book, or the Batman Detective, Shadow of the Bat, that stuff. So it's really interesting to know that side of it. But the situation, the status quo now is that Gotham City has been cut off and is no longer considered part of the United States, and it is illegal to be there. It is no one in, no one out. It is closed off by the military. It is a isolated area, a no man's land. And so you have people who got stuck, who didn't make it out in time, who didn't think there would really be, that the government would really follow through with just abandoning a whole city, so they tried to stick it out. You got all these other reasons. You had people who wanted to stay because they didn't trust it, or blah, 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 people who refused to move. And you get a lot of profiles because, undeniably, the idea of the government just abandoning a major American city after a crisis like this is a bit hard to swallow, and it's even a little harder to swallow that anyone would stay once that was announced that was happening. This does a good job on showing that the people who stayed are not all, you know, just criminals and people who want to live in anarchy. They are legitimately, like, just, there are good people still in Gotham City who couldn't or refused to leave for, you know, reasonable and understandable purposes. So I really like that. The first issue is interesting because it's the beginning and really helps you understand the status quo. And I really like just the way it opens. It is a very profound opening that does a great job of establishing. So I want to show that. And no, I promise I will not go page by page. Gotham City, no trespassing. You are now leaving the United States. By federal authority, this area has been declared off limits. Hell comes to Gotham City. That's a bomb-ass opening page. Bob Gale, I have some problems with some of the stuff he'll say, or have characters say, rather, and it makes me, like, scratch my head and wonder about Bob Gale's politics, or what Bob Gale thinks of his character's politics. But, man, that is... there's no arguing with the form. That is impressive and immediately sets a tone for you. So this opening issue just does a really good job of giving you the scope of what it's like in Gotham City. So you have some supplies dropped on it by a helicopter passing over who wants to get footage, and you see 3 different people pick up the supplies. And you see one kid gets his sandwich stolen, but he's in GCPD or Blue Boy territory since the city is split up and is now controlled by gangs. And he gets his sandwich back because the cops actually protect him. You see a girl get her candy bar swiped, and the guy that swiped it is picked up by Scarface's gang. And you see that he is killed by Scarface, who's in control of some other territory. And then finally you see a kid with an apple who trades his apple to someone else. So you've got this sense of there's some gangs that are like actively trying to help people. There's territories where people are actually safe. There are territories where no one is safe and are under the control of Madman. And there's like a new system of commerce existing within the city. And that goes even further as we trace the path of the apple all the way to Penguin, who has set himself up a business trading gallery, an auction gallery, where people are trading rare valuables for things like an apple. And I really, really love this scene down here at the very bottom as he sells the apple and bids it away, and he trades it for like this precious stone. And then he's like, come and claim your prize. He just takes one bite out of it. It's like, remember, the penguin always takes his bite. That's brilliant. It's just a lot of really, really effective stuff in almost no pages. And that's really, really cool. I really want to get a sense of just how much was done there in so very little. Look at that. That's a lot of information that's conveyed very quickly. And then you've got this big widespread day 93 of No Man's Land. Gotham is still dead. And we get Oracle kind of further breaks down everything that we just learned, and we get a better idea of it all. And I really like this. We get a map, and I'm pretty sure this occurs in every volume. We get a breakdown of this map that shows what the city has been split up by gangs and what it looks like where it's colored in. I think that's really cool. So the first issue does a great job of just showing you what this city is like, what's happening in it. And I think that's really cool. It's just neat. It's just cool. So this is the beginning, though, of the No Law and a New Order story arc that Bob Gale writes. And ultimately, he has some, like, really, really harsh views that are expressed here. And I don't know how I feel about them, but I like the tone. Let me put it that way. There's some things that slip out, and I'm not sure if it's just, okay, these are the kinds of people that would stay, the kinds of people that would think these things, or it's just what Bob Gale thinks of these people, and he kind of lets it slip out as justification. So, I don't know a ton about Bob Gale, and I've wondered throughout this entire run what people's politics are in saying some of these things, because I think it's really fascinating. Then there's this interlude with this guy who keeps trying to mug people with a gun, and it's like our first hint of what Joker's up to, which is cool. And we get what Jim Gordon's plan is, and what kind of means he's planning to take by starting gang wars in order to reclaim more territory. And they're like, but that's illegal. And he's like, there is no law anymore. And it's fascistic, right? That is fascism, but at the same time, these are literally these are the most desperate kind of circumstances imaginable. So at what point does what's right go out for what is safe is an interesting moral quandary. And I don't think that it's super black and white that Jim Gordon's doing the right thing, because people have questions for him, And then we see a character who wants Jim Gordon to go that far and wants Jim Gordon to go further, and he's clearly kind of messed up. Interestingly, though, he doesn't come back a lot in this. I'm trying to remember the name of the character. They yell at him a couple times. Pettit. You got Sergeant or Lieutenant Pettit, and he's, wanting to kill these gang members, even when he doesn't necessarily have to. And it's starting to eat away at Jim Gordon if he's going to become that guy or if he's gone too far. And that's kind of interesting. Batman reappears here. He's apparently been gone for 3 months of No Man's Land. And I felt it like it was so much longer than that. I didn't remember how quickly Batman showed back up, or maybe just the way this is collected, it happened faster than I was realizing. But he shows up and starts taking people out, and lots of stuff happens. He also approves of... I believe that it's not a spoiler, because I know who it is. I'm pretty sure they revealed who it is in this, but I can't recall, or if I just remembered who it was. But Huntress becomes Batgirl, which is kind of cool. Let's see if I can find a good panel of her. We get a great full-page spread at one point, but be damned if I can find it in time. Fuck it, whatever. So there's just a lot of interesting things that happen in this first story arc, No Law and a New Order. And it just makes it really fascinating as Batman kind of discovers the rules of this area and what to do with it, and how to rebuild the legend of what Batman is, the mythology, and that's really, it's interesting. And we got more stuff with Azrael trying to track down Nick Sharp, and I am at least somewhat sure that did not have anything to do with what was going on in the previous collection, because that stuff feels completely new to me. Either that or my memory is fucked, because I do not remember anything about Azrael in those books. I also like the way that territory is marked in No Man's Land as spray paint. I think that's really cool. There's one line in the at the end of the New Law and No Order that I just cringed at, because it bothered the hell out of me. And so like last time I talked about the scene with Bruce Wayne saying that he doesn't give a damn about the losses that Wayne Enterprises suffers under the cataclysm. He wants to focus on people. And so I'd say, yeah, you see, the people saying Batman is just a right-wing fantasy really don't know what they're talking about, because there are plenty of comics that show that, no, he's actually a good guy who tries to use his resources not only just to be Batman, but to do good for social change. That being said, those arguments are not completely unfounded, because shit like this is said in Batman comic books. Please tell us what to do. Now I realize who these people are. The destitute, former welfare recipients, the intellectually challenged, in quotations, the unmotivated. The people with common sense would never have tolerated Scarface's regime. They left this neighborhood weeks ago. Ouch! That hurts to read, coming from one of my favorite characters. That is where I start to wonder, what's up with this Bob Gale guy? I'm not even saying that Bob Gale is like necessarily a conservative or anything like that. Like, when you read welfare recipients, the unmotivated, like maybe Bob Gale's like a really liberal kind of guy, but that kind of line, ugh. Anyway, so the Azrael stuff I don't really have a ton of interest in. But then another arc comes up in the Huntress, or with Huntress, that is just fantastic. It's called Fear of Faith. And it's like I think a 4 or 5 part story. And it's all about Scarecrow, which is great. This No Man's Land has, I think, my favorite Two-Face stories. One of them in here, and I'll talk about that. But this is probably the best Scarecrow story I've read in the comics, where it's just Scarecrow doing his thing. Fear of Faith is interesting because Scarecrow joins up with this church group that is offering sanctuary to anyone and is not asking for protection from gangs and stuff like that. And so it's just Scarecrow's just in there as a safe haven, and there's this priest who's trying to do the right thing, and he's taking in guys. No matter what side they're on, blah, 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 blah. And that's just, I don't know, it's just really interesting to see Scarecrow in that situation as he tries to manipulate the players like Black Mask's former gang and the Penguin and the churchgoers. And he's just trying to, it's just sadistic as fuck. He's just trying to destroy hope and faith. And it's a really, really good story. These people have literally nothing but their hope and their faith. And Scarecrow's just the whole time, whispering in their ear or sometimes just straight up yelling. Like, I love this moment as he tries to rile the churchgoers up into a shootout with some of these gang members. It's a sign from the Lord on high. He will help protect what is ours. Strike now, force them back, let them feel the vengeance of the righteous. As he's trying to manipulate the people into doing into violence, and you've got them following this priest who's a pacifist. It's just really interesting, all the situations that he manipulates, and I really liked it. Though I will say, similar to Road to No Man's Land Volume 2, I begin to feel like this is really miscollected, because the entire Fear of Faith story arc is dependent on this offshoot of Black Mask's gang. But it's still relatively early in the book, maybe a third or halfway in, that the Fear of Faith starts happening and finishes by. And again, it's dependent on a Black Mask gang for a lot of the story elements. But we haven't seen Black Mask in the book yet. And then, once you get going, you get really far into the book, you start to see Black Mask's gang and his eventual fall. I gotta find the where the arc starts up. Damn it. It's so hard to find this shit. Did I skip over it? I hate when I do that. I feel like I do that all the time, though. Oh. There's the Superman issue. I want to talk about that. Yeah, I totally skipped it somehow. Okay. So it's not too far later, but maybe it's almost the next story arc, I bet. After the Fear of Faith thing, which again is completely dependent on the Black Mask stuff, they do an Azrael issue that checks in with Nick Sharp and gets Azrael in Gotham, which is cool, and Nick Sharp in Gotham for some reason or another. And then you just get this whole thing about Black Mask and what he's up to. And what Black Mask's up to isn't particularly interesting, but it clearly should have been before what happened with the Scarecrow and Fear of Faith. And then what's really weird about that is in between there's this story arc with the Penguin called Bread and Circuses that's all about Batman going to Penguin's hideout, his new Iceberg Lounge, and fighting all of Penguin's security in front of huge masses and crowds in order to reestablish the myth and the reputation of Batman. It's or not even the myth, the legend, the rumors around Batman being invincible because he comes in there and kicks everyone's ass. So then you got this Mosaic story that happens. So, like, the order should be Mosaic, Bread and Circuses, then Fear of Faith, because everyone knows Batman's around by that point, or at least someone calling himself Batman is around by that point. And Mosaic has this really weird interaction between Bruce and Huntress. Where's it at? Okay. Rest. It's not fatigue, it's frustration. I was too slow. Then be faster. Great advice from the man who perfected the vanishing act. Where have you been? Taking out the trash. Where do they go, the ones we take down? I mean, what happens to them? You don't want to know. He took 2 more buildings last night. Built by Wayne. Wayne buildings are the only ones left standing. Is it really him? He's blah, 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 blah. Okay, there we go. I don't let that happen. Keep the tower safe. I could use a little help. I'm needed elsewhere. You're on this alone. Protect the tower and try not to be seen. I can do one or the other, not both. Then you're not worthy of the mantle. Of course, you could prove me wrong. That's really interesting. So, like, Mosaic, he's still trying not to be seen, but literally the previous story arc, he just was seen by, like, hundreds of people, and that was the whole point. That's weird. It's not collected in a sequence that makes sense. Should be Mosaic, Bread and Circuses, Fear of Faith. So there's a lot of stuff like that where I really wonder about what they're doing. I do like the Mosaic arc. It is interesting, and it's pretty cool. Then there's Two Down, which is just a one-issue story that's really, really good. And this should have been in Road to No Man's Land, by all accounts. I don't know why it was put here, because it doesn't pay off in this volume anyway. But it really, really should have been in the previous volume. Even if this was released while No Man's Land had already started, not in the in the Road to No Man's Land, it still should have been in the it should have been in the Road to No Man's Land trade, because that's when it takes place. It doesn't have to be collected in the exact order. Anyway, in this issue, Renee Montoya is told to take 2 days off, but then she goes out to find her brother because she doesn't know where he is. And once she finds her brother, she finds that he's running around with Two-Face, who's actually helping people. He's actually going out and trying to help others. But every time someone's asking for help, I really like this. Mister, don't leave me. Don't worry, son. No one's leaving you. I like that. He's taking the coin out, and he's judging whether or not to help someone based on the coin. And so Renee Montoya is working with him, and every time he flips his coin, she's like, I'm reaching for my gun every time he does it. And it's just getting, like, really, really intense and creepy. And she keeps talking about the chances that the coin's going to come up on the wrong side. So I really like that. There's also some really cool art. This is, like, kind of more, I don't know if cartoonish, but more exaggerated might be the better word, kind of art for comics, but I really like it, especially on Two-Face. The purple face, the white hair is just really cool. So I really like that story. It all ends with Two-Face being given the opportunity to just keep doing the right thing, and that's neat. The next story I really like, too, The Comforts of Home, where 2 scavengers come across one of Joker's haciendas. That is a reference. It's not mentioned in this story, but that is a reference to the 12-issue Joker ongoing series from the 70s. Because that thing is ridiculous, but he has hideouts that he calls haciendas. So anyways, these scavenger couples find Joker's lair, and really the story's not terribly interesting, but there's one panel that is just gold. Like, this is hands down one of the most fucked up things I think the Joker has ever done, and he's not even in this issue or in this panel. And you saw it in the thumbnail in this video, but yeah, this is great. Just in his one of his lairs, he has Jason Todd's Robin costume and the crowbar he used to beat him to death with in a display case. It just says, "The day I won." That is just fucking twisted in the most perfect Joker way, in my opinion. That is gold. And it made the entire issue worthwhile to me. Like, there's a lot of other cool references to other Joker stuff, but damn was that good. Then the place blows up. There's a story about Harold, who is a character who's just like one of those weird things that they kind of introduced into the Bat family, but never quite stuck. So it's like, oh, what happened to Harold after Wayne Manor collapsed? And it's like, well, he kind of got confused by something Alfred said, and so he left Wayne Manor and looked for something to go fix and found Gotham City. Yeah. Then there's an Azrael issue with the Joker. I was surprised by how much the Joker is in this, because my memory of No Man's Land had almost no Joker stories. Like, I remember the issue where he showed up and killed a kid as he was just walking around No Man's Land, but I did not for the life of me remember Joker ever coming back up in No Man's Land until the very end. It makes sense. Joker's an agent of chaos and anarchy. Gotham City was in the middle of anarchy and chaos. What would he do? And this is kind of to that point, because the Joker stories we get just don't feel very Joker. It feel like it could be anybody. Like, I like the couple coming across as haha Hacienda, but I like that because it feels the absence of the Joker. This story with the Joker and Azrael is just like, yeah, this is just Joker getting kind of beat or tricked by Azrael, but getting away in the end, and I didn't care for that very much. Alfred gets a story that's pretty cool about what he was up to in the 3 months that Batman was gone and out of the city, and that worked for me on some levels. Home Sweet Home tells the story of just like a guy who was too stubborn to leave No Man's Land, and that kind of was interesting because you got the sense of this is a good person. He's just kind of stuck in this shitty situation, and he doesn't want to be left. He doesn't want to leave his home. It's too important. The neighborhood's too important. But then again, the Joker shows up in this. I'm just like, that could be literally anyone. Why has it got to be the Joker? Then there's the probably one of the best issues that answers what I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. There's the issue The Visitor that tells why isn't the Justice League or anyone else in No Man's Land making a difference. So it has Superman show up in No Man's Land to help make a difference. And as soon as Batman sees what's going on, he's like, what do you think you're doing here? I came here to help. Then leave. You're out of your element here. Now more than ever. I respect you, Batman, and I've respected your sovereignty over the city. That hasn't always been easy, but these people need my help, and I won't let you stop me, even if you could. What makes you think I can't? Superman's internal monologue. He's bluffing, isn't he? Reaching for something. What? You've got 24 hours. Do all the good you can. I'll be waiting for you right here. And so Superman goes around and tries to figure out what he can do to help. And he gets some guy who used to be an engineer. And in a day, he and this engineer get the power plant in Gotham back up and running. But then Superman has to go deal with a little mini crisis with Mr. Freeze. By the way, I love this Mr. Freeze design. Why did we stop using it? It's great. He has to go deal with a little mini crisis with Mr. Freeze. Again, really like the Mr. Freeze design. But by the time he gets back, he finds that the people of Gotham are just in this tribalistic mindset now. It's too late to do anything about that in this quick superhero fix kind of way. Because by the time he gets back, the guy that he helped get all the get the power plant back up and running is now unwillfully in charge and considered the leader of a gang that's now supplying power to the people. And Superman's like, what's going on here? This is all wrong. You've got to tell these people, make them understand it doesn't have to work like this. And he just asks, how? And Superman doesn't have the answer. He just turns and like, and they all like crowd and start bowing down to him and stuff. And then he just like flies up to Batman and they have a talk. You were right. I didn't understand. They're not ready. Took me longer than you to figure that out. How are you going to do it? How are you going to bring the city back? I don't know. I'll find a way. I hope. I really like that. That's a really good point. Like, just the shock of being abandoned has completely, ripped the heart right out of the city. And I think that's a really, really good way to frame the action. Yes, it's exaggerated. Yes, it would never happen in real life. This is the DC universe. It feels believable for the DC universe that there's no easy fix, and that's why Bruce Wayne failed to save Gotham City, is because there was no easy magic bullet fix to all of this. And that's what Superman was trying to do. There's also some stuff with Blackgate that I kind of alluded to earlier, where Batman is taking the murderers, and that is actually causing a problem because people are wondering what that's going to mean. Like, they want food, and the people at Blackgate are actually being given food. So it's like, well, we want shelter, we want protection. And that's kind of interesting. We also get there's a good page of the new Batgirl, who, again, spoilers, is Huntress. If I'm remembering it correctly, I could be completely wrong, and that'd be an awesome surprise, but I'm pretty sure it's just Huntress. Anyway, the other ongoing thing is that Jim Gordon hates Batman now for, in his words, abandoning them in their time of need. I really like this scene very early on, and it kind of gets carried throughout the entire book, where it's right at the beginning they rig up a bat signal for Jim to be able to shine, and he sees it and just smashes the thing, and he's like having arguments with his wife, yelling at people for saying the name Batman, like. And it's interesting, it's this confluence of events, because not only did Batman leave for 3 months, but Jim Gordon wasn't able to get a job outside of Gotham City as a police commissioner, as a real officer anywhere, because the rest of the world saw him as a joke for needing Batman. And the attitude that he has is, you don't understand Gotham if you don't understand the need for Batman. And of course they don't. So I don't know, it's really interesting that Jim Gordon feels kind of impotent, and so there's this confluence of issues that's causing him rage at Batman. So when he interacts with this new Batgirl, he's like, you're this new Batman? She goes, no, I'm working with him. And he's like, well, you and him stay the hell out of our territory. We don't want to see you. We don't want anything to do with you. And she's like, all right, I'll pass the message along, but just for your information, you're always welcome in our territory. That was pretty good. I really liked it. What else goes on in this? There's an issue where Batman has to go through the King Solomon test of 2 women claiming ownership of a baby, and so I love this. I love this situation. You're both right, and you're both wrong. Half and half. So I'm going to cut the child in half. 1 part for each of you. That's fair. That's murder! You'll burn in hell! Don't play games with my baby. It's my baby. Clearly what worked in the Kingdom of Solomon doesn't apply to Gotham. I like that. That's kind of a cool scene. So he has to find a new way to make this situation work for these 2 women, and he's given this fable about his father by Alfred that's really interesting. And he comes to a conclusion, and he takes the baby to both the women and says, 1 parent isn't enough for Gotham. Are you willing to do anything for this baby? And they both say yes. Then you'll have to raise him together. That's my decree. Because 1 parent isn't enough. You can't leave him to go find food. Someone needs to stay and watch him. And so you need 2 parents for this. And so he gives gives the baby to two women to raise together. I thought that was really good. And then there's this other story called Step Into the Light. And it's Azrael hunting down a serial killer that dances for people before slitting their throats. Didn't particularly care for it. Oracle's story mostly. But yeah, this is like a reasonably good volume. There's stuff in it, like, again, that makes you go, the destitute, unmotivated, and welfare recipients. Those are the people that stayed in Gotham, huh? And then there's other parts where I'm like, no, it's good people and people that are, just scared that stayed in Gotham, and Batman understands that. And so it's just like, it's this little, I don't know about all that, where I get little moments of, yeah, there's undeniably some right-wing love for Batman, and I feel that needs to be stamped the fuck out. I need Batman to punch some more Nazis, is what I'm saying. Anyway, really good volume. Various levels of art, obviously with a bunch of different artists working on it. There's something, like, I really like the Bread and Circuses story, which is, Batman dealing with the Penguin and what he's set up. But I really hate the art in that. It's just not good. It's so not fitting with the tone of that issue. It's kind of ridiculous how off it is. I gotta find it real quick because it's just out of place like crazy. Yeah, I gotta find a good panel of Batman to show you because it's too cartoony, and like, all right, here's a panel of Penguin's face close up that is not pretty. The proportions are all weird and shit. And there's just like images of Batman where he's supposed to look intimidating, but he doesn't. He just looks silly. Yeah, this panel. It's just not a scary face. Yes. And then, like, the action doesn't really work, so I didn't like the art for this. Then there's the Mosaic, which is the Black Mask story, and Black Mask doesn't look like Black Mask. This was in the transition period. Keeping in mind, Black Mask didn't always look like Skullface, like Black Skull, Red Skull, Black Face. He did used to look a lot different. This was in that transition period for him, but I still don't like it. So it doesn't look like the old Black Mask, and it looks like a new Black Mask, and it doesn't look like the new Black Mask. It's like this. His face just doesn't look black enough. It's weird. That's him up top, and down in this bottom panel here. So I don't know. It's one of those things where the art ranges, obviously, but there is some really cool art every now and again that I just really, really like. Nothing quite as good as the Mark Buckingham, but I mentioned the Two-Face and Renee Montoya story. I really like the art in that. It's very exaggerated, but it's cool. And there's other stuff. There's a lot of passables. It's just fine. Nothing to really say about it, art. And then there's just stuff that's, like, good, and I'm just trying to find a really cool example that I like. Like, that Batgirl image I showed earlier, like, I really like how she looks in that. I think that's a really good image on her. Like, this, I think, looks gorgeous. My favorite Batgirl design, once Cassandra Cain gets in the outfit. It's just cool. It looks like it has this perfect thing where you can tell it's a woman, but it's not exploitative. Like, yes, there are boobs, but women have those. So it looks like an athletic woman in something that's, just as skin tight as what men wear without being ridiculous and revealing and yada yada. And it looks like more of a Batwoman, and that's kind of what we start to get with, like, Kate Kane when she gets her own book and stuff. But it's cool. I like that design. otherwise, not a ton else to say about this. I really like where it's going so far, and next week I'll be talking about Volume 2. So everyone stay tuned for that. One other thing on the volume. The other volumes, since they came out later, Cataclysm, Road to No Man's Land, Volume 1 and 2, they started putting the covers in between the issues, like chapter markers, and I really prefer that to the cover gallery thing in the back. That being said, there are some cool covers. Alex Ross, I don't know why you wouldn't use an Alex Ross cover. Like, it's Jim Lee on the cover, but it should have just been Alex Ross. It's Alex Ross, man. You gotta use Alex Ross cover. Then there's other stuff that I like quite a bit, but man, Alex Ross is just much better. Like, God, look at those Scarecrow covers are awesome. And I just prefer that when it's stuck in between. This cover is really cool with well, I'm blowing it up. The stained glass window. I'm trying my best to angle it so I can show the camera without blowing the fuck out of the image. The stained glass window behind Huntress there has Scarecrow in the stained glass, which is kind of cool. And there's other stuff. It's just neat looking. It's a cool ass cover of Black Mask. So yeah, those are neat. It's a cool Batman Superman cover. But I would have preferred them to be stuck in between the issues. Ooh, that's a really good one too. That's on iconic level. Who did that one? Phil Winsdale, Detective Comics number 733. I might have to go hunt down that issue just for the cover. I do fear the binding's kind of coming loose on this a little bit, which wouldn't be the first time that happened. I'm considering doing War Games as my next big Batman discussion, since it's got like a similar kind of tone to this. I'll do some other stuff after I finish No Man's Land first, but like one of my volumes of War Games just comes right out the cover, unfortunately. The whole binding just fell off. Is there a way to fix that? Like, what? Just like, I don't know, super glue or something? Or is that going to just be horrible? Let me know if anyone's got any suggestions. But that'll do it for Trade Talk. Everyone, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time with Volume 2 of No Man's Land. Bye.
That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.